done that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to redo that intro because I accidentally didn't go live. There's a little button that says go live, and I forgot to do it. So let's do that one more time. Welcome, everyone. I'm Todd Bohannon. I'm an educator with Reef here on the Grouper Moon Project 2026. This is my 15th year here coming onto this project, and it's so awesome to see all of these classes joining us today to participate in this incredible conservation project, something that y'all should be so proud of here in the Cayman Islands. I just flew here from Seattle a couple of days ago, almost got stuck in a blizzard in Charlotte, just made it out in the nick of time. As you know, it's been pretty chilly and windy here in the Caymans. This is actually the coldest it's ever been that I've been here. I've been surprised. I only brought one sweatshirt, which I don't usually ever use. The winds have been so high that the sea state, like there's 8-foot waves over on Bloody Bay Wall, which I've never seen before. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so today, let me go over the agenda. I'm going to introduce you to some of the staff members at the Department of the Environment. They're going to share with you their stories and what they do on the project. Then I'm going to introduce you to a graduate student from Oregon State University who's here working on the project for the first time. And then we're going to have a chat with Dr. Christy Pattengill-Simmons, who is one of the scientists on the project since the very beginning. And we're along the way, we're going to share lots of clips of cool stuff that we've already seen out here on the on Little Cayman. And then at the end, we'll have time for some questions. All right. So let's get started. I'm going to bring myself here back. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. Okay, so with me here today is Paul Chin.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing?
All right, so you just talk like normal. No,
Yeah, sure,
no worries.
no
So Paul, you work for the Department of the Environment.
I do.
What is your role there?
Well, I'm a research officer. I've been there since 2009. So this year marks 17 years that I've been with the department. I've actually been on the Grouper Moon project longer than that because I've been on the project since I was an intern. So I actually did the calculations a couple of days ago, and I've actually been on the project 18 years now.
Wow.
So I've seen it progress. I've seen it change. I've seen the technology change. I've seen a lot happen over the last 18 years.
It's kind of amazing. We've all kind of grown up on this project together,
we have.
right?
I've known you for a while.
I know. That's so cool. Well, can you tell us what you do as a research officer at the Department of the Environment?
At the Department of Environment, I came in there as a new kid, so I was involved in many of the projects. And I still involved heavily in many of the projects. Fortunately for me, over the last couple of years, I've taken on a sort of a leadership role where I help organize a lot of these projects that I've been so heavily involved in over the years. So it's kind of a progression for me, where I started out as just helping out with these projects to spearheading some of these projects as well.
Wow.
And that includes the likes of lobsters, groupers, reef substrate, corals.
What's reef substrate?
So basically we just go along the bottom, we video it, we see how much of it is sand, how much of it is coral, how much of it is we identify the amount of coral that there is, identify the species. We do that sporadically across designated sites across the island, and that gives us coral cover versus sand cover versus rock cover. So substrate just kind of categorizes that and just puts everything into one big category.
So it's kind of just the bottom.
The bottom, yeah,
the bottom.
Just the bottom. If you want to put it in just completely basic terms, it's just the bottom.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So from working on this project for a long time, there's so many different people who come from such varied backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really like is to have people share with the kids sort of your pathway to becoming involved in science and how you got here, so that the young ones that are here with us can see themselves becoming scientists, hopefully into the future, and taking over this project and making it their own. So how did you become involved?
Well, funnily enough, my pathway is a little bit different from most people. I didn't always think I was going to be in marine biology.
Are you from here?
I'm from the Cayman Islands. I was born and raised in Grand Cayman. I went to the government system straight through. My tertiary education was overseas, but I was sitting in the classroom just like you guys. I had no idea what I was going to do at that point in my life. And then I went away to university. I was a recipient of a scholarship to the United World College in Hong Kong. And that's, strangely enough, that's where I got my diving certification. One would
In
think,
Hong Kong?
In Hong Kong. One would think that you would get it in the beautiful islands, in the Cayman Islands. But I ended up finding my passion when I no longer had that resource available to me.
Was there something that happened in Hong Kong?
Yes. So what happened was I joined a World Wildlife Federation sort of organization that helped collect data for the World Wildlife Organization. And basically, I was diving one day collecting data, and I saw a seahorse. And it was my first time ever seeing a seahorse, never seen one in my life. And then fortunately for me, that seahorse happened to be pregnant. And then after doing a lot of research, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but the seahorse is a very strange creature because the males are the ones that carries the babies.
Right.
So I immediately decided that, underwater is completely different. It's like everything is upside down.
Yeah.
So then it just sparked my interest, and then everything just kind of fell into place after that. I changed my my major, decided to
So
go
what
towards
were
it.
you thinking?
I was thinking along the lines of engineering, mechanical engineering, to be exact. I like
Okay.
to build things with my hands, put things where they're not supposed to be, and make it work as if it was supposed to be there. I still do that here and there, but it's more of a hobby. But my true passion is actually the marine life. It's just being able to help and see the results of that help, and see the numbers grow and see the species sort of recover. The grouper moon is one of my big passion projects. That's why I'm still here, and that's why I'm still on the project. So yeah, but here I am. I was sitting right there in those chairs, right where you guys are, and
That's so
here I am.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started out, you went to school on Grand,
Yes.
and then you went to college
In Hong Kong.
And then what was the path from deciding after you saw the seahorse and that this was something you were interested? How did you go from that to becoming part of DOE?
Okay, so that's another strange transition as well, because after graduating from Hong Kong, I took on a job in the Atlantis submarine, where I was controlling the glass bottom boat. I was driving that for a year and a half.
And
sorry,
that's
6
on
months,
Grand,
sorry.
right?
That's on Grand. Yeah, it's
Cool.
it's no longer there in Grand, but when it was there, I was driving the glass bottom boat at the age of 17. Unfortunately for us, that's when Ivan hit. I had just applied to UCAS.
Was that 2004?
2004, yes.
Okay.
And then I applied to UCAS, where I got accepted to the University of Essex in England. And that's where I did my bachelor's and my master's. And then I came back here. There wasn't necessarily a job readily available for me. However, I took a job as a jewelry salesperson on the waterfront.
Yeah.
Until the job became available. And then I just kind of fit in with everyone.
So what was your first job at DOE?
My first job at DOE, I didn't have a specific job, but
Yeah.
it started off as an intern, me doing the turtle nesting project, which I'm still heavily involved in. Not as much as I would like to, or as much as I used to be, but that was my first job, where it taught me how to look for the turtle nests, how to process these turtle nests. And then again, that's one of those projects where I saw the numbers go from just a few tens of nests per year to hundreds of nests per year. We've had, subsequently, we've had several record-breaking years in terms of the number of nests we've found in Grand Cayman and across all 3 islands over the last few years. So that's another success
Wow.
story as well that I've been involved in.
I mean, the Cayman Islands really is leading in marine biology
We try.
conservation. It's incredible.
Yes, we
I
try.
mean, both of those stories are just fantastic.
Thank you.
Paul, thank you so much
No
for
problem,
coming
it's a
and
pleasure.
sharing your story with the kids. Hey guys, why don't you say goodbye to Paul?
Nice to meet you guys. Take care.
And I'm gonna bring over a couple of skippers that we got here who normally would be out driving the boats, but because the waves are so high, they haven't been able to. And I'm gonna pull up a video so you can see what the sea state looks like over here. And you guys can come on over and just plunk down, and so yeah, both of you right here would be great. I'm just gonna show them what it looks like on Bloody Bay Wall yesterday. So I'm assuming you can see those waves there. It's hard to tell, but they are, 6 to 8 foot waves, which in the 15 years that I've been coming to this project are definitely the biggest waves that I've seen out there. This is actually a pretty big storm. So can you introduce yourself, who you are, and what your job is with the Department of the Environment?
No problem. Morning, my name is Jonathan Eubanks. I work with the Department of Environment. In my job, we're research field assistants.
I mean,
aka a captain. So we are in charge of pretty much operating all boats and all our projects, and if one from local scientists to you guys who come down from all places of the world. And we're here again for this year's Grouper Moon, and hopefully we can get some good weather and continue what we've been doing the last couple of years and for years to come as well.
can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with the DOE? What did you grow up on Grand, and were you always
Correct.
interested in that?
Yeah, I've always worked on the water in different aspects, from anything from deliveries to private yachts to you name it, to
Really?
mega yachts to sport fishing charters, and then I sort of fell in place in COVID because I lost my job. And then we were fighting the disease with the department. We actually got hired for a different job, which was a stony coral tissue loss disease.
Right.
And it sort of transitioned into this whole position that we're in now. And 5 years later, I'm here on the porch talking
That's
to
a
you
pretty
guys.
big shift to go from private boats to
It
working on
is,
research
but
boats.
it's I guess there was a whole cycle that comes around, and it's cool to actually give back and show
Yeah.
my kids the different aspect of things, and to help the country and to get back where we're supposed to be in terms of protection and preservation.
Yeah. So how did you become a skipper? Like, what did you start when you were very young? How
Yeah,
did you
I've
learn?
always been in the water since I was young. My father's an Olympic sailor.
Oh, really?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, I got certified when I was 12. I've been a member of the sailing club since I was a little boy. I've been a member of the angling club since I was a little boy and continue to. And so it's just, I guess, progression and just the whole circle and how everything comes about and to be where we're at right now. So,
That's so amazing.
thank you.
Have there been any highlights for you on coming on the Grouper Moon project over these last 5 years? Anything that sticks out? You're like, oh, that was pretty
Well,
amazing.
you see it, you guys doing the live feeds and the educational programs, but it's nothing like actually being here and seeing amongst yourselves and just getting to experience. It's amazing. It's something that you see in an Attenborough documentary
Yeah.
or on Discovery Channel, and to be a part of it, it's just, we're pretty lucky here. And to
I
have it
mean-
in our own backyard, it's amazing. So, yeah,
That's
I'd recommend it to
yeah.
anyone. If they ever get the chance, please come out and make a difference. Like,
You hear that, guys? You want to come out and drive a boat? This is where you can learn, right?
Correct.
With the DOE.
correct, yeah.
All right, can I switch seats
Sure.
with you and your neighbor here? I'm going to introduce you guys to one more skipper. All right. So, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Welcome.
It's always nice to be here.
You know, in the 15 years I've been working on this project, I've never been able to have the opportunity to interview any of our boat captains because
We're always on the water.
they're always out on the water. So I was like, we need to do that today. Can you introduce yourself, who you are, where you came from, and how you got involved?
Okay. My name is Jonathan Rivers. Born and raised in Grand Cayman. Spent most of my life, in the dive industry or around the water at some point, on or under the water.
Yeah.
I became involved with this project the same way as Jonathan Ebanks. I was, came on as a stony coral diver, then transitioned into the jobs that we're in now, which is research field assistant, which basically translates to we get to do just about every project there is.
Really?
Yeah, we've been a part of the shark projects, turtle projects, and then the big Grouper Moon project that we have every year, and it's just been an amazing experience. Just to work with you guys and, be able to see the groupers in their natural habitat and be in it, right? Videos and stuff just don't do it justice. Being there is
No.
what makes it the special thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really nice.
So how did it start for you to becoming involved with DOE? How did you first get your foot in the door?
Well, there again, it was
It was Skittle
yeah,
G.
with the stony coral. We came on in that project.
And what were you
I
doing? Were you captaining then?
Well, we started off as divers, just
You
in the
did?
project, yeah. I mean, I've always been a captain on most of the boats, the dive boats and stuff, but with the DOE started off as a diver, and then just, over the years, again, worked back up into the position of captain, and it's just been that, the rest is history. It's
I mean,
been great.
It seems pretty cool at the Department of Environment. A lot of people that I've worked with there started off, as interns or, and have
Yeah,
all moved
yeah.
their way up into these really interesting
yeah.
roles at the Department of the Environment. That's a pretty neat opportunity.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. I mean, it was something I always, I've always been passionate about the environment. So to get to work with the Department of Environment was something that I always liked to do, and to get to actually start in there and then have such a wonderful team to work with, and to get to meet, such wonderful people, all the scientists on this project, the scientists on the other project, getting to meet you guys to do the interviews and stuff. It's been great. Yeah.
So we have about 8 classrooms that are on here right now with us, and if you were to tell a young one who might be interested in becoming involved in science, what might you suggest, or what do you think would help them sort of steer them in the right direction?
I mean, just go for it. We have the natural resources here
Yeah.
that are available to us around all three islands. We're surrounded by beautiful, waters. We got a lot of biodiversity. There's so many different species that are being studied, and yeah, if it's something that you're passionate about and something that you really want to do, I just say go for it.
Yeah.
Go, do your marine biology stuff. Do all, go through the schooling, get all your PhDs. You never know, you might be have a PhD.
Do you
in
have
this
to
one
have a PhD to do
No,
it?
no, no.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Awesome.
I don't have a PhD.
Right, neither do I.
Yeah, it would be nice to have, but I mean, if that's what you want to aim for, just
Yeah.
go for it, because
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the progress with these projects, like, with Paul Chin there. He's been on this project for such a long time. He's seen a lot of the changes. You see the populations come back up, so you actually get to see the fruits of your labor then.
Right.
What you're doing, you actually get to see those changes and see it working, and it's like, yeah, it just gives you that, sense of
That warm feeling
yeah,
inside.
that warm feeling inside. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So yeah, it's just, go for it.
Right?
Yeah, if that's your passion,
Go
as with
for it,
anything else,
guys.
go for it.
You got to do it. I hope that some of you are thinking about it right now.
Yeah, maybe some of you guys will be on the boats with us one day.
That would be
I'll get to take
amazing.
you out there and get to show you that, these groupers spawning and other, the other projects we do, and it'd be a pleasure to work with you.
Does the DOE still have internship programs?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So yeah,
So that's something to pay
yeah,
attention
something
to,
look
guys.
into, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess the website, and there's contact information on there. You can go in and find out all about that, and it's possible.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining
You're
us.
welcome.
Both
Thank you for
of
having
you.
us.
Both
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for
Hi,
being
guys.
here.
Have fun. Have a good day.
All right, I'm gonna bring on my next guest. All right, Wave. Y'all doing okay out there? Okay, we're about to share some pretty cool clips, so come on over. So this is Wave, everybody.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
So you are a first-year intern on this project.
Yeah, it's my first year out here in the Caymans, and it's been
So
lovely so far.
tell us your name, where you're from, how you got involved.
Yeah, so my name is Wade Moretto. I'm a third-year PhD student at Oregon State University, and I'm originally from San Jose, California. And I got involved in this project. I was actually down in San Diego at Scripps Institution of Oceanography doing my master's in another lab down there, but I worked.
What were you doing your master's on?
I studied box crab. They're an emergent fishery down in Southern California, and I was working with local habitat managers to understand kind of how that species was affected by temperature, and also to look at what they were eating, so their diet.
So before, let's talk a little bit about what happened before that. Have you always been interested in marine biology, or how did that start for you?
Yeah, I grew up about an hour away from the coast. Santa Cruz, California was kind of the closest coastline to me, and so I would always go there with my parents just to the beach, and I was very curious. My parents were very encouraging of that, and so we'd go tide pooling, we went snorkeling, and I was always really fascinated by what I saw. And I remember we would go snorkeling in kelp forest. That was what we had in California, and so I was really curious about what fish was I seeing and what was that environment like. And so kind of going to the aquarium, going to the beach, that really was what sparked my passion. And then when I was looking at going to college, I was always interested in marine biology, and so that led me to UC Santa Cruz, is where I did my undergrad. And there I learned a lot about kind of kelp forest ecology, conservation, what it's like to work out in the ocean and that environment, and that sort of led me kind of to continue into grad school.
So there's so many different directions you can go in marine biology. What area has been calling to you? Like what are you super focused on?
Yeah, for me, it's always sort of been management of nearshore habitats, so kelp forests, coral reefs, things like that. And since I'm from the West Coast, kelp forests are that big habitat. We've had a lot of decline of those environments over the past 10 years or so.
Right. Huge declines,
Yeah,
right?
huge declines. Up in Oregon where I work, we've lost about 70% of
Right.
the kelp
Washington,
forests.
where I'm from as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have maybe, hey, we will get some video of some kelp forests because you don't have kelp forests here. We'll post some videos on the blog so you guys can see what we're talking about because they're really incredible.
Definitely.
So, okay, so you went to Santa Cruz and then what happened?
So I went there. I worked in a lab studying moray eels in
Wow.
Southern California and the Channel Islands. And that was where I kind of got introduced to working on small boats, being outside a lot, doing really hands-on marine science. And so I knew that I wanted to keep doing that going forward. And so I looked at grad school programs, and that led me to Scripps down in San Diego, working with box crab. But I was still really missing that being outside, doing a lot of field work. And so I found the Simmons Lab at Scripps, and they do a lot of that kind of work.
Yep.
And so I started working with some of their grad students and going out on boats and helping with more fish monitoring type of work. And I knew that going forward, that was kind of what I really wanted to do. And so Simmons Labs works very closely with the Happel Lab on the Scooper Moon project. And
At
so-
Oregon State
at
University.
Oregon State. And so that's how I found the lab that I'm in now at Oregon State University, which does really similar work, and that led me to go up there for my PhD.
Wow. You've had some fortunate events happen there.
Yeah.
You know. So what is your job here? What do you do as an intern on the Grouper Moon project?
Yeah. So the first full day that we were here, we go out on dive boats, and we are going out to the spawning aggregation site. For me, I'm going down with a GoPro camera to film the Nassau groupers. We're doing a fish face project, and so we swim around with the GoPro. We try to get really close to the fish.
And take pictures of their faces.
Their faces, because they have the distinct patterns.
So each of those Nassau have their own distinct facial pattern that stays the same as they grow. So we can take pictures of them now and still identify them in years into the future because they will still have that distinctive pattern.
Exactly.
So you go down, you dive, you take video. What else?
We're taking video. We're also trying to just film other interesting things that we're seeing on the aggregation site.
Actually, we have a video that you filmed. And
Yeah.
is it true this was your first time diving in warm water?
Yeah, all my diving before has been West Coast cold water diving.
Yeah. Okay, so this is quite different for you.
Yeah, this is incredible. Yeah.
So, you guys, Wave took this incredible video of a grouper who thought that they thought it was a good idea to eat a puffer fish, and it didn't work out so well. Hold on one second, and I'm going to pull that clip up to share with you. That's not it. That's it. Okay, so it's going to be about 30 seconds into this video, but I wanted you guys to see this is what the aggregation site is now, and this is at about 90 feet?
Yeah, about 90 to 100 feet underwater.
And the Nassau, as you can see, are already aggregating at the site and are hanging out. A lot of them are hunkering down there at the bottom, cleaning stations and such, right? And so I want you guys to watch. There he is. That Nassau has a pufferfish. I'm gonna back it up and try to pause it so you can see in his mouth. So inside there is a pufferfish that he must have clamped down on, and then the pufferfish puffed.
Up. Yeah.
And so, what happens? I don't know, but he's in trouble, man. You got to watch out what you eat. No one on the project had ever seen anything like this, and on your first dive, you took this incredible video. I'm going to share this. I will post this video. The other fish are watching like, dude, what's going on? Yeah, he's in trouble. But how amazing for your first time here to capture something like that no one has seen before on the project. Very, very cool. So what's happening today? Are you guys out diving?
We're not out diving today, so we have some pretty big seas. I think you saw a video earlier, and so we have about 8-foot swell right now, which is a little rough for us to take a dive boat up.
So literally no dives are
no
happening
dives,
right now.
Yeah, right now. Otherwise, we typically go out 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And so usually we're pretty busy diving off at the aggregation site, but today we're not doing any dives. But we are doing some work behind the scenes to all the different cameras that we use. We're calibrating those and testing them so that we can make sure that we're kind of comparing the measurements that we get.
So and there's a lot of equipment that you guys bring. There's like 10, 15 giant totes of
Yes.
all of the science equipment that we use on the project. So you help work on all that stuff as well.
Yeah. So we, in addition to all the different cameras that we use, Scott, my advisor, and I have brought out work to do environmental DNA collections. So that's
What is environmental DNA?
yeah. So environmental DNA, when fish or really anything are swimming in the water, they're shedding bits of their DNA.
So like the way that we shed skin, like skin kind of
Exactly.
sloughs off all the time of our bodies.
Yeah, and so that ends up in the water, and so we just take Ziploc bags down, we scoop up little
Water.
baggies of water, and then we're able to filter those, and we can extract that DNA off of it, and so we can tell what kinds of fish were there. And we're specifically targeting the Nassau grouper, but you
Right.
can do that for any kind of fish or any organism in the water.
So how do you see eDNA?
You don't see it with your eyes, you
Okay.
have to look under a microscope.
So you're just going down there collecting water. You don't know what's in it.
No,
It's just
yep.
some water. You
Yep.
bring it back to the lab, I
Yep.
suppose.
Yeah, well, we filter it just here, and then we bring it back to the lab, and then we run some extractions and sequencing so that we can see those
See the DNA.
and figure out what kinds of fish are out there.
That's incredible, you guys. Wow. Well, it's so awesome that you're here on the project this year.
you, yeah.
Really good to get to meet you. Hey guys, why don't you say hi and bye to Wave, and then I'm gonna bring on our next guest. Wave, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right. Wasn't that video amazing? I'm gonna show you again because I think it's so cool. Watch. There he is. I mean, his mouth is wide open, I think, because the puffer fish has puffed up in his mouth. He can't close his mouth. Or they. I don't know if it's he. Amazing. Okay. All right. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Dr. Christy Pattengill-Simmons, who is one of the primary researchers, scientists on this project. You've been involved forever.
Since the beginning, yeah.
So there's a few things I want to ask you. Could you first tell us let's first tell us what's been happening here.
Okay, well,
Give a little summary of the last few days and the beginning of this year's Grouper Moon project.
Well, this year we have a great team of researchers, our collaborators with Cayman Islands. You here with us, we've got our researchers like Wave, some early career researchers, here
Pretty
for the
cool.
first year on the project, and some of the senior scientists as well. We all thought we would get here a few days early because we know that the full moon was going to be strong. We wanted to really hit the ground running, and we got one day of field work in, and then Mother Nature had a different idea for us. So as Wave talked about, and Todd shared that amazing video, it is very rough out there right now. So we are
Compare this to previous years. Have you seen anything quite like this?
it's never perfect conditions,
Right.
but generally there's always like one dive or one afternoon where we the captains have the final say on whether or not it's safe for us to go out, and there's a time here or there, but never like this where it's all day yesterday. We'll see about today, definitely not this morning, but this is the roughest, like you were saying, that we've ever seen. This is a pretty big storm. So.
But you were able to go out once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that first day we got out there, and it was really exciting to see. For anyone who remembers, maybe from last year, if you looked at the blog or you had a sibling in one of the classes, we couldn't really find the fish last year. They were there, but they were just being really sneaky about us being able to find them. So it was really a relief to get out there and see them all again, and know that everything is still as it should be. And they were already, even though that dive was 2 days before full moon, there were already thousands of
Wow.
fish, and lots of cleaning, lots of laying on the ground.
Why do they clean down there?
Yeah, the fish are, because when they're here at the aggregation, they're using a lot of energy, and they're
Right.
not really eating, although maybe they are a little.
Because a Nassau's life, normally, they're just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
They're a wait and strike hunter, right? Like,
Exactly.
they just sit in their one little spot and wait for something to come by and they eat it. But here, they're milling
Yeah.
about all the time and they're not really hunting.
Right. They're doing expending a lot of energy, not only moving around, but also getting ready to reproduce.
Right,
That
so
takes
it's
a lot of energy,
energy.
to make all those gametes. So they're really susceptible to parasites and just kind of being generally a little unhealthy. So they're using those cleaning stations to clean all of the little bits of grime and all the parasites that try and get in there and take advantage of the fish while they're not feeling so great. So there's a lot of cleaning, and that's super important for the fish to be able to do that. And they do a lot of behavioral kind of looking at each other. And you saw in the video, they're all kind of moving in on
and
each
watching
other
each
and
other,
watching each
which
other.
is not their normal
right.
behavior.
They're solitary. They're on their own normally.
And normally, if another grouper came up to one, they
they're
wouldn't
super
hang. They
territorial.
wouldn't hang out like
No.
that. They would.
Yeah.
One of them would shoo the other one off.
Exactly. So it's a very different, and we think that all of that behavior has to do with how the spawning aggregation is successful. Why a solitary territorial hunter on its own can come together in the thousands and figure out how to do this reproduction.
That's amazing. And we have some cool videos from that first day that you
Mm-hmm.
guys were out there. But before we share that, I want you to share a little bit, like, how did you become Dr.
Yeah.
Christie,
Yeah.
and become, a part of Reef?
Yeah, so a lot, as you've kind of heard from all the other folks this morning, there's so many different ways to kind of
Right.
ending up as what we would call a marine scientist. And it's really, like you said, you don't have to have a PhD. You might, have an interest, be on the water and be a boat captain, and you're engaged in the project in that way. You might be an educator and get to be involved in the project that way. So it's definitely not a one path
No.
direction, for sure. And I think that's the best thing about science. It's really, the oceans and science are for all different kinds of people and all different kinds of interests. And for me, I, like a lot of you, were around the ocean. I didn't grow up in a place with the ocean, but I had the opportunity to go visit, and I was kind of early on introduced actually to some other marine scientists on a field trip and talked with them. I was in 4th grade, so like a lot of you all, 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I talked, and I thought, wow, that's really neat. And I asked, how did you get to have this job? And they said, well, I am a marine biologist. And I thought,
Huh.
So that it was a pretty early on, and I just kept doing things, taking a class or doing a summer camp or trying to get internships. I became a scuba diver when I was in high school, and that was an interesting eye-opener to start to see what was under the water. And so I did my undergraduate in marine biology, and then I did go on and do a PhD. But along the way, during that, when I was getting my graduate work, I started working with Reef. And so when I finished my graduate work, I was hired by Reef. So that was a long time ago. And then once Reef started the Grouper Moon Project, I've been a part of this project ever since.
So what year was your first year coming out here to work on Grouper Moon?
So I actually didn't come until 2003.
Okay.
The first year was 2001, and my colleague Leslie Whalen was here that year from Reef, and worked with the Department of Environment right after the aggregation was discovered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What an amazing story. Okay, so Christy has taken some amazing video from out there on the reef, and I'm gonna pull it up and share with you what it's looking like out there. Wow. So
Yeah.
are those all Nassau that we're seeing
all those
there?
kind of little dots there are all NASA's. I think that's actually WAVE right there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you can see they're a lot up in the water column and down closer to the reef, and a couple thousand. And you can't see in this video too much because this I think was late in the day.
Yeah,
It was
because
pretty
it's a little dark.
but you can start to see those different color patterns that you all have probably learned about.
Right, because they can actually change color.
That's right. So each fish, during the regular part of the year look like what you would think of as a Nassau grouper, and that brown with the bars. But then like that one is kind of the pale belly to the right. You can see there's the really light colored one.
So you
like
see this
that.
light colored here, and then when you see this big mass of fish, you see many colors.
So they can get all dark. They can kind of put on a tuxedo like black and white. And the closer it gets to when they're actually going to spawn, almost all of them put on that tuxedo. All of them turn the black and white, except for a few. The females will go all dark right when they're spawning. So each individual can change.
Is this because fashion is really important to
Oh,
Nassau
yes.
grouper?
No.
What's
Well, yes.
going on with the
So
color change?
It goes to that kind of idea that these are normally fish that are on their own. They're very solitary. They're territorial. They don't play well with others normally.
Right.
And so this, we think part of it is behavioral cues to kind of know, oh, okay, everyone is here. We're all here together.
So they're communicating with each other through their color change.
Yeah.
And other fish do that, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a pretty typical, but
And
not a lot of fish can change color the way they do.
Yeah, that it's so these a lot of fish will turn on kind of these mating colors. Also, a lot of fish turn on what we call pajamas. So if you ever do a night dive or a night snorkel, you'll often see daytime fish look very different at night. They turn on these like pajamas, like dark camouflage colors, so that they can blend in and hopefully not get eaten while they're sleeping.
One of the first times that I snorkeled in warm water, I was invited to go out at night with some local Hawaiians. I was in Hawaii, and I had never really thought about the fact that fish sleep. I was like, what? And they were all. I remember I was looking at all the fish, and they're laying down kind of on their side, and they're kind of. And I tapped Blaze, who was the Hawaiian that I take. I'm like, what's wrong with the fish? And he looks at me like, they're sleeping. But I had never really thought of that. Like, oh yeah, they got to go to sleep. So and they all looked so different.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So fish can use color for all different kinds of behavior and communication. So that's what we think is going on there.
Now, in the first video, we saw. I'm going to take this
Yeah.
off and just join us. Hold on one second, everybody. No. Where am I? Nope, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, but while Todd's doing that, you can see here a lot. This is late in the day, and they're all pretty kind of band up. That's pretty typical for the last dive of the day. In the morning, a lot more of them are down on the bottom, getting cleaned and kind of milling and resting. And then as the day goes on, they kind of all move up into that big band.
Okay. Now, in the first video, we saw a wave going around with, I don't know what it was. It looks like some sort of science equipment. I think
Yeah.
we have one
Yeah.
here. Can we show that to the kids and explain what's going on? All right, I'm going to back up just a little bit because it's big.
No, I'll come behind you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So what? Okay. So are these are handles?
That's
here?
right. So normally the diver would be swimming along like this, and these two cameras are GoPros, just like a regular GoPro if you've used one before in the water, and they're angled in just slightly.
So they're going
So
a
they're
little
kinda-
bit like that.
Yep. And that allows us to not only get a whole bunch of fish all in one video, because we've got these two, but because they're overlapping just a little, we can gauge basically depth.
Right.
And so we can measure the size of fishes.
So you're able to see. So you're actually getting. Are you getting fish faces and length?
Yes, so when we take this video, Wave was talking a little bit about after the fact, they do a lot of post-processing of the video.
So they take
And,
the video back to the lab, and they're sitting on a computer looking at it.
Right. And we have a lot of assistance from automated AI software, basically, that not only pulls out individual fishes
Wow.
to be able to measure the individuals, measure the length, but then also use the facial recognition software that we have to be able to identify individual fish. So there's kind of two different
Wow.
things that
And
we're doing.
What's this?
That is a light.
Oh,
Because
okay.
as you saw, and
Yeah.
we're down deep, and so even during the middle of the day, it's better to have light to be able to see better.
Right.
And then sometimes we'll have lasers on the tops of each of these.
On each of these.
Or just one of them as an extra kind of calibration, because the laser can help us also with size.
With size. And
Measuring size.
why is it so important for you guys to collect data about the size of the fish?
So we know that Nassau grouper will come to the aggregation only when they're about 6 years old. So the first 5-6 years of their life, they're spending time in the shallows. They're not leaving when the winter full moons come. They're staying at home. And then when they're about 6, they start going out to the aggregation for the spawning aggregation time. And so as they get older, they get bigger, of course. So their first year that they go, and they're only 6, they might just be, that big.
Okay.
Not very big at all.
No, like a foot and a half.
A little like teenager. He's just a little small one. And then the really, try and get in the camera, they can be really big.
Right.
As they get older and older. And so because we can't tell how old they are just by looking, there's no, they don't have the driver's
rings
license.
no.
The size can tell us something about how old they are. And so we can look through time and and see the change in age distribution of the aggregation based on the size distribution. And so what we want to see is the big ones getting older
and bigger, because bigger fish they produce really good quality babiys. Right.
The older they get,
more quality gametes and more of them, right?
Yes. So they're really important to the population, but of course they're not going to stay. They're going to not live forever. So we want more young ones to come in,
right.
And so being able to see a smaller individuals tells us that new baby recruits are showing up in that population.
And is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, and we see the kind of one of the great things that we've been able to track is that it doesn't happen every year. We don't always get new young teenagers coming in. It kind of happens in pulses, and so that helps us better have realistic expectations about. It's not just going to be a continuous increase. It's kind of pulsed.
So this was something that confused me when I started working on the project, because maybe not every year the spawning is not as successful. There may not be as many that make it back, right?
Yeah, make it back here. They might be successful in seeding other places because they get taken off in currents. The larvae, once they're spawned, spend about 30 to 45 days in the currents. So
just in the open ocean.
That's right.
And I would imagine most of them get eaten at that time.
There's a lot of getting eaten or getting, washed away, swooshed away. So there's a lot of mortality. But the ones that make it through that kind of gauntlet of different risks, hopefully then get close enough to shore to be able to settle and become adults.
And we, since you mentioned that, we have this amazing game that Reef has produced, the Grouper Race for Survival, and all of you classrooms that are joining us will get one of these games that you can play with your class that are really awesome, and we'll have those sent out to you guys at the end of Grouper Moon this year. Before we take questions, and we are ready for questions, if you guys are ready to ask any questions, you can type them into the chat, or you can simply come up to your camera and unmute yourself and ask. But you've been here since 2003. What's been the biggest change?
Oh, yeah. The biggest change has probably been technology. The early days, we barely had, good enough cameras that could see in the light, see in those low light conditions. They were very expensive and heavy and big, and now we have these little tiny cameras. We didn't really have super accurate ways to estimate numbers. And all the eDNA that wasn't even a thing. So all these newer ways that we can help work with DOE on understanding this population, so we can help make sure that we have growing populations into the future. So that's probably the biggest change.
Well, and I think this year there's actually a pretty big change. That in previous years we've tagged fish with little Floyd tags to help count them, and this year we're not doing that.
Correct. Yeah.
So what's happening?
So in the past, if you've watched some of those documentaries or other films about the project, you might have heard about how we would put little, Todd mentioned Floy tags, or they look like a little colored piece of spaghetti almost, that we would stab in the back of the, implant into the back of the fish, just a little small thing that went in, and that allowed us to see them underwater to identify individuals,
So that you
or
could
not
count them.
individuals, but identify them, and we would count them and use that as a way to estimate the total number of fish there.
Right.
And we didn't have that in the very early years, and then that was a kind of a part of technology that we started using.
So that was the beginning of the evolution of how we count the NASA.
And that's worked really well. It definitely was better than us trying to literally count, which is what we kind of did in the first few years. And
You guys, I'm gonna put a video on the blog, which I challenge any of you to go and watch and try to count how many fish are in that
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
It is not
it's-
easy.
No, it's not easy. So
They don't sit still.
No, they don't. And they all look the same. And so we did our best on that. But being able to use those Floy tags helped and provided a much more accurate estimate. But it is still
Invasive.
it's invasive. It's putting something into the fish. They do not last forever. They ultimately fall out. But it's still, we didn't want to do that forever. And as AI, artificial intelligence, has increased, the same way that we can open up our smartphone
Right.
and it knows our face and opens it up, we can use that same technology for the fish. And so that's what we're using all of our video imagery, like with the stereo video and the other cameras that we use, to be able to start to use that facial recognition. It's really the whole side of the fish, but we say fish faces, to be able
So
to
it's really the pattern
identify.
of the
It's-
whole fish that you're looking at,
Yes.
not just the face.
Right. Yeah. It's the whole pattern. So we could maybe share. There's a couple of examples
Yeah.
where we have, side by side, a picture taken 2013, a picture taken 2019. It's the same exact fish. You could look at all the pattern and see all those little dots and squiggles and stuff. That all stays the same as the fish gets older. It's like our fingerprint.
Right.
Right. And so that pattern is what we're starting to use to estimate individuals,
So you're just going down and filming them,
filming individuals.
not
Yeah.
not doing any tagging at all.
Yeah.
And then how will you count them?
Yeah, so that's that is the next step that we've been actively working on for a few years, and we're not quite there, but we're really close, working with some very smart computer engineers. And that's, speaking of ways to get into marine science, there's a whole nother part of engineers and computer software developers who are part of this project that are just as important as the rest of us.
Sure.
And so even if you're not interested in, being a boat captain or
Or
a
a
scuba
diver.
diver, there are so many different ways you can get involved. And we have really smart computer software folks and engineers who are helping us run the sophisticated computer power to be able to work through all those images and do estimates of populations.
So the idea is you'll be able to take that video, feed it into the computer, and the AI will be able to identify the different fish based on their
Exactly.
physical pattern.
And then count, okay, there are, 7,861 individuals that we've, estimated, that we've identified from the videos this year. And we know that on average, that's some percentage of how many are there, based on our, through the years. So that'll be the modeling part of it.
I imagine that that's going to be much more accurate than, because the AI will know, oh, I've already counted that
Yeah.
fish, because
Yep.
they
That's
know the pattern, right? And that's not something you can do just with your eyes as a scientist.
Correct.
When you're looking at
Yeah.
them from 50 yards away or whatever.
Yeah.
They all look the same, so you might be counting the same one twice or
Sure. Yeah, so it is going to be a whole new set of data that'll be really powerful.
All right, so we have some
Yeah.
questions. The first question is from John Cumber Primary School. How old and big can a grouper get?
Oh yeah, really great question. So how old we?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's Joanna Clark. Joanna Clark, I'm primary. My apologies.
Yeah, we know that they can live at least 35 years old. Some of the earliest studies that were done on Nassau grouper, even though they're found all over the Caribbean, right here in the Cayman Islands is where some of the best research has been done on Nassau grouper. And in the 80s, Department of Environment did a bunch of studies, and they the oldest fish that they aged was about 35 years old. I'm sure that they live longer than that, but we know at least that old. And then how
Is that typical for fish to live that long?
it really varies. A lot of the fish are much, couple years old, but there's actually some 20-year-old, the little damsels and some
Really?
of the gobies and stuff, they live a long time. It's surprisingly. You would think they're really
Yeah,
short-lived,
yeah,
but
they're not.
they live a long time. But grouper are some of the longest living in the Caribbean. Some of the bigger snappers also live a long time in other parts of the world. But they're the oldest fish we know. I think the Greenland shark is one of the oldest. It's a couple hundred years old. There's a
Right.
rockfish out by you that
Yeah.
lives to be over 100 years old. So pretty wild.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful question. The next question from Island Primary. How many grouper fish are there in the Caribbean?
So there are, I don't know offhand, maybe 10-ish different species of grouper. So, Nassau grouper, black grouper, there's the strawberry grouper, or red hind, tiger grouper.
Okay.
So there's different species of grouper. If you're asking how many Nassau grouper are here in the Cayman Islands, we don't know that's part of this, trying to figure out numbers, but we know that our last estimates were about 8,000 Nassau grouper at the aggregation here on Little Cayman. But that doesn't count all those little young ones.
Right. You're only counting the
6
ones
and unders
right.
that are still on the home reef. And then we know for sure that Little Cayman fish are only Little Cayman fish. They don't, even though Cayman Brac, you guys aren't very far away, we can see you across the way, but the fish don't cross the waters there. It's a little too deep for them to cross. So
they really stay
Brac
close
fish,
to home.
Yeah, Cayman Brac fish are staying on Cayman Brac. Little fish and Grand Cayman fish, they're separate populations. So we don't really have a very good handle on total numbers on each of the 3 islands.
This is one of the things that always amazes me about this project, and something that I hope inspires you guys, is that there's still so much that we don't understand, so much that we don't know. And every year it seems like as soon as we answer a question, that answer then brings up more questions, right? And
Exactly.
there's just always more to learn.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got more questions. How many baby fish are there every year?
Oh, that's a great question. Another one we don't have a firm answer on, but we know that it's hundreds of millions of,
Wow.
of
the-
potential babies.
Right.
As the spawning happens.
And all the gametes
eggs,
are
yeah.
released.
But how many actually survive even in the first 24 hours?
It's a small percentage, though.
In 24 hours there's still a lot. And
Right.
then, in the first 5 days, that's kind of the roughest time, I think, as they start to, they don't have any power.
Right.
They can't swim or anything
Yeah.
yet. They're kind of
They're just at the whim
listless.
of the
Yeah.
of the current.
So it's, more than we can fathom. Hundreds of millions.
That's amazing. All right, we've got another question from Cayman Prep. Did the tags hurt the fish?
Well, that's a really good question. I would say they are definitely bothered by it. You can, when you insert the tag, you can see that they kind of jolt. They kind of, it's something that has been poked into the back of them. It's that area doesn't likely have many nerves, so
it's not a super sensitive area.
It's muscle. It's going right into muscle. So
I've heard you guys maybe say it's like a bee sting, maybe.
yeah. So we'll never know. The fish can't.
No, they can't tell us.
But we do know that it's enough. It's bothersome, and it can be a source of infection. It can be. We don't think they swim off right away. That we see them years later. Sometimes the tags should fall off within the year, but sometimes they don't.
Right.
And we'll see them years and years later. So we
it
know
doesn't
that
have
it
any
doesn't
last-
have long-term effects, but it's not no effect.
Right. Wonderful question, Island Primary. We have another question from Creek and Spot Bay. Hey guys, I'm so glad y'all made it. What is the biggest goal of the project?
Well, really, the biggest goal overarching is you all have this amazing resource. It's like nothing else in the Caribbean. You're
Literally.
you all are what everyone else is looking to it's the biggest success story in ocean conservation in the Caribbean, for sure, this project and what you all have here. And so we want to make sure that we can help grow that, serve as a blueprint for other, countries that aren't as lucky as you all. But really just to make sure that it's a national treasure. It's something that's very important to the culture here, to the history, and we want to make sure that there's enough Nassau grouper into the future so that folks can see them underwater, know that they're there, and they can help, the Nassau grouper are really important to keeping the overall reefs healthy. They're a good part of the balance. And then, of course, to be able to fish for them. And outside of the spawning season, be able to have, many to fish for during the regular, the non-spawning season. So that's really our overarching goal.
Wonderful question. At Joanna Clark Primary, the question is, what is the biggest Nassau grouper you've seen?
Gosh, there's some really big ones. I mean, I don't have a very good sense of, but they're like this big, very big.
How much would you say one of those big ones weighs?
I don't know. That would be a really good question we could post later.
Yeah.
Because I know we have some of those stats of kind of what are the biggest, how much do they weigh. We could post on the blog later.
Wonderful question. Thank you, Spot Bay. Joanna Clark has the question. Oh, wait, that's the one we just answered. West End. Your question is, how many groupers come there every year?
Well,
I imagine that
we'll
changes
see.
from year to year.
It has steadily been going up. So we have that graph we could post on the blog later to show, through time. Last year, our estimates were all wrong because we couldn't really find the bulk of the fish. But the year before, I think the last time we had a good estimate, there was about 8,500 fish there. Wow. 8,500 fish.
How many were there when you started?
About 2,000, maybe. So
So what's the math there? How much of an increase is that?
Exponential increase there.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And this really is, in the Caribbean, there's nothing else like it.
Nothing else like it. And it's all because of the passion and the power of the Caymanian people, the Caymanian government, to have the foresight to be able to put in those reasonable protections to not fish the spawning aggregation, to help, protect them while they're moving around the island during spawning season. And then outside of spawning season to have reasonable, bag limits so that you could have
you can still fish
growth in the population through time. And that's all because of, everyone
of
here.
You guys.
Yeah, of all of the students who came before you, who've sat through these and learned about the project to be able to share with their families and their friends. And
and so to go off that, piggyback off that question, do we see the same thing happening on the BRAC?
Yeah. So the BRAC has really been a great success story because the populations there, similar to here, the numbers went pretty low. Only in the, maybe couple hundred, 500.
That's what I remember you guys saying when I started.
It was low.
Yeah.
And so it was a harder thing to see, okay, is it going to be able to make it back?
Right.
Because we know there's some point.
There's got to be a tipping point.
Little too
where if it's
low,
too few, they're not going to make it.
Right. And, but yeah, the protections on the BRAC and, have been great. And so the growth has happened. I don't know what the last numbers we had there. So that's another thing we'll have to put, but I know it's upward several thousand are
now.
There now, so it's been, it's been a great success story.
Way to go, BRAC. You guys are awesome. Okay, we got a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap it up. The question here is, why do fish change when they go under deeper waters?
Why do fish? So I think they mean maybe the change in colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fish are using those color changes to kind of signal to the others that, okay, we're all here. We're going to be friends. We're here for, the same reason. I'm not invading on your territory. I'm kind of ready to start to spawn. So they do, it's a lot of, because there isn't, it's different kinds of communication.
Right.
And, they don't speak words like we do, but they also make noise.
They do. They grunt, right?
So that's a whole nother kind of part of research that we've done is looking at the noise that the fish make and how that changes when they're all together in an aggregation versus how the kinds of noises they make when they're on their own home reef, and then how the noises change as they get closer to being ready to spawn.
Wow.
Because there might be a place that's too deep or too hard to be able to put divers in the water. But if we have a good understanding of the noises that represent a spawning aggregation, we could put underwater microphones into places to see, oh, okay, even though we can't look at them because
You can
it's
hear
too
them.
deep to dive, we can hear them. So that's a whole nother kind of way that they're communicating, and we're using that to study them.
We have one more question. Who discovered groupers in the Cayman Islands?
Oh my gosh. Wow. We'll have to ask one of
Yeah.
our Caymanian colleagues tomorrow. We'll ask them for that.
I mean, Cayman Islands was first a fishing community. That's
Right.
that's
Yeah,
all that we're
absolutely.
here. We're
So-
fishers.
So this, you all can go out, home and ask your dads, your grandfathers, your grandmothers. There'll be stories that have been passed down about finding these aggregations, finding Nassau grouper here, decades ago.
Wow. Okay, and our last question from Joanna Clark. How many eggs does a Nassau grouper lay? That's
yes.
a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. So we'll have to get I know it's tens of millions. It's a
And
lot.
the older and bigger the female, the more gametes,
The more, for sure.
eggs she makes. So a younger, smaller fish is going to be much less
Much
than.
less.
But
And
those large ones,
it's
perhaps
a
millions.
lot. Yeah.
Wow.
And generally the bigger ones are better. They're more fit.
So they're stronger.
Yeah, they're stronger. They're more likely to last that kind of gauntlet of eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful questions, you guys. Dr. Christie, thank
All
you so
right.
much for
Yeah.
being here. We're
Thanks,
going to wrap it up
everybody.
for today. All right, I'm going to pull you guys back up on the stage here. Hello, everybody. Woo! You guys, thank you so much for hanging out and being here with us today. Yes. Awesome. It's so good to see you. Thank you. You guys had the best questions. Now, remember to join us on Wednesday at the same time. We're going to take you underwater and you're going to get to meet some other scientists and you're going to see the reef and you're going to see all the fish. It's going to be incredible. So thanks so much. Check out the blog. I will post all those things that we were talking about on the blog and you can watch that from school or home. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye from Grouper Moon. Bye, you guys.
Can say bye now.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.